Okay, we've been playing Knockout City for a bit, and I kind of had to take a break from it because it's become a competitive, high adrenaline game for me. And
yeah, I wish I didn't have to beg for Knockout City. I feel like I am the proselytizer of the Knockout City. I'm trying to get everybody I know to download it. It's free. I've been playing it since it came out. I'm obsessed with Knockout City. I think it is incredibly fun. From the moment I picked it up, I was like, I'm good at this game. I feel connected to this game. I feel like I understand how to be this dodgeball dude. It brings me back to childhood, you know?
And that's great. I agree. The game is fantastic fun. And I was just about to say, I too was right there with you telling everyone to get it. And I'm not saying it's a bad game by any means. Basically, this episode is why does Carlos have so much adrenaline in his body?
Yeah, you respect the game.
Rather,
you definitely have played enough and could speak about the game in a way that shows that you respect what it's doing. And also, have you ever seen a dodgeball game before this one? Why did it take so long to come up with a multiplayer?
You know, I'm legitimately racking my mind right now to think of any other games that may have had dodgeball in it, and I am at a loss. I agree. Why the fuck hasn't there been a dodgeball game yet? I'm sure there's probably been a dodgeball game in VR, but certainly not one that has taken off, and throwing in VR is its own separate topic. But getting back to Knockout City, this game, I have a lot of fun with it, but I often need to listen to tranquil music or lay down in complete dark and silence after playing it because it is a fighting game. It is a fighting game that makes me super tense. It's not a fighting. And there are head games, and there are it is a fighting game. That's why we're having this conversation. It's a fucking fighting game.
I can't believe this is okay. This is the argument you're making. There is a tackle component, but the primary objective of the game is to throw balls at each other, catch balls. It's, throw the balls, do trick shots, lob shots, sidewinders, whatever they call the
primary objective of the game is to land an impact on your opponent.
It's a dodgeball.
To then lower their health, land an impact on an opponent via a dodgeball that then reduces their health until 0, which then knocks them out of the round, right? It is also, if you think about it through the lens of Marvel vs. Capcom or other team-based fighters, you can have 3v3, 2v2, 1v1 type fights, whether they be ranged.
This is a shooter.
Here's the interesting part.
It's a third-person shooter, okay?
I was just going to say, here's the interesting part. You could bring up the shooter. Yeah, you could bring up the shooter aspect, but here's where shooters don't compete. You cannot fake out in a shooter. You cannot do trick shots in a shooter, right? When I go and I Call of Duty you, or take a third-person shooter, let's say fucking Dead Space or something, right? If I go to shoot at you, I can't do a sidewinder shot, right? My shot at you is not going to change, and your strategy against my shot is not going to change. So the fact that there's a bunch of head games going on that you can fake out an opponent, you have to read an opponent's play. All of these are very they are higher level fighting game things that you don't ever really fucking think about until you start to actually get into it. And then Knockout City was oh, did you think this game was fun? Fucking rips off the curtain. I'm a fighting game! And I was already too deep into it to get out.
Yeah, so it's kind of like how old arcade cabinets would have a heavy attack or a mid attack or whatever, and you're saying that the different ways of throwing the ball involve that. And there's also
there is already a light and heavy attack, right? You can charge the ball, which puts it into a fast state, right? So slow ball, fast ball, and ultimate ball, right? If you have your teammate and you charge them. So a variety of moves, like you said, the low, medium, high, and then or actually I should say light, medium, heavy, because now getting into the trick shots, you have your low, medium, and high hits. Right? Your curve balls, your lob balls, and then whatever else comes next. I guess with the power-up balls is I don't know if you want to call those supers or what, but I think Knockout City is genuinely a fighting game deconstructed and just given a bigger playing field.
So what genre could you most easily combine it with? Or it's not just if you told someone that you were gonna,
it's not just a fighting game. You're right. Yeah. Okay, going to what you said earlier, I think it could be maybe a third person. It's a third person fighting game, or it is a hybrid third person shooter fighting game. I think like when people say fighting game, it's super easy to only think of hand-to-hand combat, a la Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, and all these other games that go around that, Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right. Those are all 2D?
Yes. There is a game called Anarchy Reigns that is a 3D brawler that had a third-person camera. So that would more so probably fit what we're trying to like visualize here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that Knockout City is like, it's like a 3D game.
3D, yeah.
Like a 3D shooter with like kind of a sandbox style.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, with Anarchy Reigns and like one other game, maybe like Mad World is also similar. Mad World wasn't multiplayer, but that was certainly like, here's a field, here's like kill stuff, and it's way more of a beat 'em up and way more focused on like melee combat, whereas Knockout City is like, here's an open field, we give you melee combat in the sense of like you can tackle someone. And Valen Studios, I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation, but they wanted a game, and you can tell just through like the cosmetics and like everything else, they want a game that everyone feels comfortable approaching. So I think in the mechanics, like when thinking, hey, let's turn dodgeball into a fighting game, it's not very approachable to see these kids like punching each other in the face to like grab a ball or something. But if they're just doing this like fun little dash that then like buffs you away, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, it
but
isn't a
then
punch. It isn't just a punch. It is a dash. Like you could use that button all the time without ever hitting a person.
Right. It's not a violent action to begin with.
Yeah, it has a function outside of the like impact that it will do to the character and the gameplay that it will affect the targeting of this particular, opponent. It's so funny because I do concede several of the points that you made about it being a fighting game, with the health decreasing, and I just never would have thought about that independently, because I don't like fighting games. I don't play a lot of them, but I do love Knockout City, and I guess it's not those parts of fighting games that I don't like, and I'm trying to kind of suss out the difference, and why is it that I'm not really drawn to other fighting games, but Knockout City really like felt like it was like almost like tailor-made for me. I was like, I love the art style, it feels very like, kind of like gentle and cartoony, and not in a, and the maps are like fun to explore. There's like a double jump and a twirl, and there's so much functionality built into the game. They reuse buttons for different things, and I just found it just seems so intentional. Everything about it just felt like it was like perfectly placed.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of really good like synergies and hybrid ideas like working in play there. And that's like
the glider.
What you said, right, with the glider, like going back to what you said, like you're not really into fighting games, and like that's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is because like I like fighting games, but I'm not particularly good at them. I remember growing up, I would be the one that had like Marvel vs. Capcom, Dead or Alive, like whatever else. I don't know why I can't keep coming up with names, but like I would have these games and be like, yo, let's play. I don't have anyone to play with, and like it would be so hard to get my other friends to like play with me. And now the fucking shoe is on the other foot, which like is just so, I like the grand irony of the situation is like, now Ryan is fucking begging me to play this game, but I don't want my like anxiety to go up, and like my hands are going to be trembling after we play a good match. So like, but it's such a fun game. It's such a fun game that like, yeah, sure. Even though I do get like really into the game, and I like try to get that Twitch reactions, like I do like coming back. I do like these things that we're kind of touching upon, like figuring out like, why does this work so well? Like why do we both like these fighting game things, but like this package gives us them in such a different way that it like has like a different feel on us. And I guess like I should probably finish off by saying most, if not all, fighting games, when I do get into like a close match, certainly give me that same feeling. Like, if you win with like 1 HP, you're going to be like, woo! And like, for me in particular, I'm going to need a couple minutes to take a breather after the match.
Why don't you feel that way with Rocket League? Like, Rocket League really gets me sweaty. It feels, it's a sports game. It's like high intensity. You're staring at the clock. You're monitoring your position. You're constantly moving. All of that is also true with a game like Knockout City.
Yes.
But you seem to be like pretty calm, cool, collected when you're driving your car into other people at 80 miles per hour, boosting and doing these football spirals and whatnot.
So it's interesting, right? I think it is the pace of play, and I have about 500 plus hours on Rocket League, and so I was gonna say with that. Part of it, I thought, would be to, like, hey, I've desensitized myself. Like, I've played 500 hours of this game. I kind of get the flow and whatnot. But no, that's not the case. I still get very excited over matches that are, like, wildly close. Like, if I'm playing ranked and I'm in a really good, like, platinum 2 or 3 match and things...
Overtime is still overtime.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Overtime is still overtime, and the pace of play changes with each of these rankings, right? So the pace of play for Knockout City for me, similar to Battle Royales, is it's 0 to 100, but like in a very jagged nature. So 0 being like, I've spawned into the map, I'm exploring it, I'm doing my double jumps. Where are my enemies? Where are my enemies? And then the spike comes. Enemy is here. Enemy is about to throw the ball at me. I need to read what their shot is. Holy shit. Like, let's fucking go. And like, now you're sustaining that, like, that high octane moment of like, will he or won't he, which in Street Fighter is typically like, you see the two dudes roll up on each other and you're like, okay, who's throwing the first punch? And having that is like, that pacing is way different to me than Rocket League, whereas I am kind of like smoothly following the ball, sans any sort of special power-ups or like modifiers. I'm more or less able to smoothly follow the ball and predict what the next moment of gameplay is going to be based on like a couple of factors, right? The car's positionings, the ball's positioning and where it's headed, the marker on the floor letting me know where the ball is going to, and I can like better situate myself to that. And also, I am not directly inflicting violence on other players, nor worrying about violence being inflicted upon me. Even when I get demoed, it's not the target of the game to demo me. So it's more of a surprise, like, what the hell moment? And not a like, like I've been working to prevent this, which like it's always in fucking Knockout City. It is always a like, I get hit and I'm just like, I should just uninstall the game now. All my years of training were for naught.
Right, yeah, it is interesting that one is like ball on person, and like avoid ball. Like the win-loss condition is like specifically about an interaction with another player versus your ability to get into the goal. In a soccer-based game, that other player is almost like incidental and like, a player, something that you have to avoid throughout. But, if they were still the entire game, then, if they were AFK basically, right, then you would just keep scoring. You'd keep scoring,
Exactly.
and like it. I don't know. I mean, that's obviously true in Knockout City, too, to some degree.
The thing is, though, you do not have to interact with the other player to score, right?
Yeah,
if that other player leaves...
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, right. If they're AFK, you can just be like, tap, tap, tap the ball. I don't care. You're there staring at me, right? But with Knockout City, if for an AFK player, you have to hunt them down, you have to locate them, and then you have to, like, throw a ball or two at them. So you're still having to inflict violence on this other character in order to win. And that adds, I guess, another layer to the mix, right? Because he is a point. Because my opponent is a point, I, too, am a point. And, like, that is another layer that makes it, like, extra stressful, at least for me, is, like, if I die, I know I'm giving them one more point to get to the end. And like this also popped up in games like Halo for me, like, Slayer or Team Slayer. And then it's like 58 or Call of Duty, 58 kills or 48 kills and 50 needed to win. Now I better not die, right? You don't want to be the game ending kill cam.